Here's what they're not telling you about Israel's siege on Gaza, and it's not what you might be thinking. As young people, we grew up in school wondering how the world accepted slavery, allowed the Holocaust, wiped out the Native Americans, the use of nuclear weapons.
The force from which the sun draws his power has been loosed against those who brought war to the Far East.
Never again, we keep telling ourselves. Yet history continues to repeat itself over the centuries. Just like all other genocides and atrocities in history, the world casually watches on, either in silence or in support, later on realizing what was happening was actually ethnic cleansing, oppression, injustice, and then the heroes who resisted are celebrated, by which time it's far too late. Look at the likes of Nelson Mandela. Only as late as 2008 was he removed from the USA terror watch list, but there are statues of him and his bravery today. So why does this oppression happen in the first place? One word: propaganda. Information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or point of view. In other words, fake news and public manipulation to justify the hidden agendas of a nation, often via indiscriminate killings and expansion of territory, which is what it has always been about: power, money, and territory. It doesn't take much to remember the last time Western media painted a narrative of terror, oppression, and weapons of mass destruction, only for us to find out and realize later on that it was all about territory, oil, and money. And this is what we got at the end of that.
For all of this, I express more sorrow, regret, and apology than you may ever know or can believe.
A sorry. 1 million people lost their lives, and all you can say is sorry. And don't forget, through the helplessness and desperation of the Iraqi people, ISIS was created due to years of bombing and killing the country went through. What do you expect in return? People not to fight back? And this is why you should never be fooled by what is happening right now. Hamas launched a retaliation attack on Israel, and yes, innocents were killed, and we don't condone that. But why did it happen? You see, ever since 1947, Israel has one goal, and only one goal, and that is to expand its territory and influence as a settler colonial state. And the proof of that is what? 100 years ago, there was no Israel. So did they just pop out of nowhere? This question can't be overlooked. Uncover everything. And the heart and soul of Israel is expansion and territorial control. The only thing in their way right now is what? The indigenous Palestinian people, who have lived there for centuries. So you keep them in the biggest open air prison with blockades, sanctions, and no access to the outside world, stripping them of their basic human rights, knowing that they're not just going to accept it. Oh, wallahi, look, listen, it's so clever. Listen to this. So they become frustrated and want to be free. And just like any normal human being, right? But guess what? That works in your favor. Why? Because you can't just kill them off all at once. The international community will come down hard on you, and you're going to lose the public. It needs to be done tactfully. They need to be provoked and frustrated just enough so they lash out. Because they won't just shoot them point blank. They will search them, treat them like crap, push them, raid them, interrogate them, reduce their rights. And look, you'll find videos of Israeli soldiers agitating the Palestinians, pushing them around, and look, they're not just gonna shoot them point blank and kill them off. Why? Wallahi, he's so clever. Because if you push them enough and press their buttons enough, then they're gonna break and retaliate, and then your indiscriminate killing is justified. Why? Because you're defending yourself. This is why you're hearing the term, Israel has the right to defend itself.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
Israel has the right to defend itself.
For Israel's right to defend itself.
Israel has the right to defend itself.
Because how else are you going to justify taking more and more land and killing off the population? Expansion can only happen when there is a scapegoat such as Hamas, and that then allows you to implement your objective of expansion and ethnic cleansing. Because don't forget, who are the masters of ethnic cleansing? Yes, that's right, the British. Wherever they went, they killed off the indigenous population, took them as slaves, and pushed them far out to settle their own people in. Australia, South Africa, America, Canada are all what? settler states. So they have the recipe. They know what to do. And they're the experts who have passed it on to their ally, Israel. But you see, now with social media and mass reporting, you can't really cause atrocities and genocide so blatantly like that anymore, as public sentiment and opinion is an important factor. So you need to do something to cause provocation and then hope for retaliation, which then leads to justification to cause indiscriminate obliteration of the indigenous population. Territory can then be expanded and the objective of conquest and power fulfilled. Now do you know why Israel is the happiest in all of this? Because they just need an opportunity to kill and expand the thing they've been doing for decades. And so when people say, I stand with Israel, this statement needs to be given context. You're essentially saying that you stand with Israel in its indiscriminate killing of civilians for the purpose of expansion, because that is their biggest desire and aim based on what they have been doing for the past 75 years. Never ever forget this point, and never let this point here be overlooked. Never let this be overlooked in what is happening right now. This is the main point and the ultimate premise of what is happening. And as Muslims, we need to equip ourselves so we don't lose the battle of hearts and mind, because the bigger battle is the battle of narratives. And don't get caught up in what's been happening in the past week or months, etc. They're going to try and get you to condemn and, speak out and only skew the narrative as if this whole thing has started a few weeks ago. No, always take it back to how it started, what the foundations are. We need to shift the narrative and push back on the fact that supporting and standing with Israel means you're siding with terrorists who wish to expand territory by ethnically cleansing the indigenous population in a very, very clever and tactful way. Enter a country as refugees with the aim of taking over. Impose yourself through an armed struggle backed by the US and the British to expand your territory year after year. Establish a settler state, expel the Palestinians from their land and move in with a self-proclaimed religious right to do so. Claim you want peace and suggest a two-state solution, and then blame the Palestinians if they don't want you there. Impose sanctions, blockades and occupation upon them until they crack and choke, and then blame them as the aggressor. Use the media to manipulate the public into thinking that this is a terrorist attack, and then use that to justify more killings and more expansion. Mission accomplished. So let us not be fools in thinking this is just something that has begun in the past few days or weeks. This whole situation needs context, and even if the war on the ground can't be won right now, there is a battle that can be won, and that battle is of the hearts and the minds. And the only way to do that is to educate people on what is really happening. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what they are not telling.